Hey everyone, Fred here. Before I get started though, if there's any of you out there that don't have anything to show, for your work during this week, you can join my team now for 1,000 hours, okay? But you have about 3 seconds, if not. All right, I was not gonna share anything because I'm not a smart contract genius like you guys, but then during lunch today, Brian kindly reminded me of this simple script that I shared internally with the foundation team a couple weeks ago that maybe some of you will enjoy. So, a few years ago, I spun up my first Algorand node. With that, brought my first few accounts online. And like many of you, I'm pretty sure you felt, sometimes it feels like the VRF gods love you, and sometimes it feels like the VRF gods hate you, just like Alex was presenting a couple minutes ago. So I basically created a very simple Python notebook, I can share with you later if anybody's interested, that basically allows you to just like plot a bunch of stuff. Just look at many different things, try to find patterns in the data around block creation. Spoiler alert, there are no patterns, it's truly random, but it's cool nonetheless. So it's a very simple Python script. It starts by just putting a list of addresses as an array. I picked 2 random ready pools for this, not my accounts, not my stake. And then it works very simple. Again, very simple CRUD for personal use only. All I do is I input the address for the fee sync, and then I ping the Nodely free API with a shout out to Pavel. Thank you, Pavel, whatever you are. Appreciate it. Thank you. And that's it. And then the code, all it does, it gets the entire list of transactions. It filters by incoming transactions from the fee sync, and then just does a little bit of magic and data massaging in the next couple of lines. And then you get to the fun part of this. So let me just scroll down. Sorry. Python, not me. All right. So basically, as I said before, you can input like an array of addresses, so you can put as many addresses as you want, and then you just start looking, basically a time series of daily blocks proposed per account, overlay with a bunch of moving averages. I think it's pretty cool. Sometimes you're just unlucky for a couple of days, but when you look at the grand scheme of things, things are better. So you go from there. I'm not going to spend time. Again, I can share this later because there's a few charts to propose. Then, after analyzing my own data, I thought, I figured out that the 10-day average was pretty good for me. So I added this chart that basically has, on the bars, the 10-day average received fees, and then the green line, the daily average, the 10-day moving average total count of blocks proposed, just to see, how much they align. And you can see some trends here, but not a whole lot. Okay, so moving on, this is basically a chart that shows the green bars are basically just cumulative fees received from the accounts in algos, and then the pink line is just like the daily variations. So you can see, big spikes in some specific days of more transactions, VRF gods on your side, whatever, and then you see that on the chart. And then, I gave you the spoiler alert that there's no patterns, but before I knew there were no patterns truly, I started doing some stuff just to figure out if there are, right? So first of all, I started by, just looking at a histogram of blocks proposed by hour of day. As you expect, somewhat random, no clear patterns, but I was not convinced. So what I did is I continued on, and I basically did a heat map of block proposed by day of the week and hour, just to see if there's anything weird. I'm from southern Brazil. Maybe there's something about time zones, whatever, people going offline, computers, etc. Clearly not, pretty random, as well as expected. Then I went there and I created a histogram of basically the number of daily blocks proposed. Sorry? Oh, there's a cat. Yeah, thank you, Pavel. There's a cat there. So just to see if if there's roughly a normal distribution along around the expected daily block proposal due to your stake. Again, it seems pretty normal distribution around where you would expect, with some outliers obviously for probably bad node or very lucky day in each extreme. And then coming up to the very last chart, I was still not 100% convinced that this was indeed random. So what I did, I picked up the entire time series of blocks proposed from the very beginning, and then you convert it basically from the time domain to the frequency domain, right? So you just run a fast Fourier transform and analysis to figure out if there's any like spectral frequency, like intradiurnal, intradiurnal like peaks or whatever. Spoiler alert again, not. When you look at this, if something is truly random or close to random, you would expect the zero component, the zero frequency component, which is just like the DC component in a spectral analysis, to be through the roof, and then very little variation close to the zero amplitude, and that's exactly what you see. And over time, I've been checking this for a very long time in my account, and you can see that as time passes and you propose more blocks, all you see is just basically the y-axis going up, and your zero component is forever higher, and then there's just a lot of noise around the zero amplitude that just basically means there's no really time dependency, any sort of structure in the data. The data is virtually random. So that's what I have. There's a bunch more plots I want to add over time, but this is just for purely consumption. If anybody wants the code, let me know. Happy to share. Thanks.